So
I think the charter issue, people are here now.
we're going to go back to the charter issue. So I'd like to have Ryan Haney or whoever he'd like to come up, and also is Rob Rieger here? Hey, Rob.
Now they're gonna do the charter communication.
If you could fill out one of the yellow cards, please. Okay, thank you very much. And introduce yourselves before speaking.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate y'all's time today. I'm here with Nathan Carbo, who I'm going to ask to maybe say a couple words. I wasn't sure if he wanted to lay out the situation totally or if Commissioner Green wanted to assist. I can say a couple words. Again, I'm Ryan Haney. I'm a representative here at System Services. In a nutshell, they're one of many Louisiana contractors who have been doing work on the Ida storm response for Charter. And we've not been able to have clear communication on why they haven't paid their invoices. We have been having a couple conversations, but at the chairman's invitation, we came to simply have an opportunity to make the public aware that we're having some issues with that. And we do appreciate the commissioners, any of the commissioners' support. If you want, we can have Nathan say a couple.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nathan Carbo. I'm with System Services Broadband. We're a telecommunications contractor in the state of Louisiana. We were originally established in the 1980s, so we've been around for about 34 years as a Louisiana-based entity. We are a woman-owned company within the state of Louisiana. We are not a storm chaser. We do not chase after major weather events. We only respond at our customers' requests for assistance within our existing footprint, which is primarily in the Louisiana area. For Hurricane Ida, we've been established in the lower portions of the state in Thibodaux for many years, working primarily with Charter in those markets. After the events of Hurricane Ida, we were requested to provide some assistance and labor force to Charter for their restoration efforts. In the middle of that, we decided that we would no longer be doing business with Charter due to other issues, and we have yet to receive any payment, any compensation for the work that was expensed very early on in the Ida restoration efforts. Now, after we started noticing that we were not going to be able to be paid, there were other vendors that surfaced that have also not been paid. In part or in full, I'm not sure, but there's a substantial amount of money that is owed to a lot of people, both in Louisiana and outside of Louisiana, and we have had zero. We still don't know why, is the bottom line. We do not understand what the problem is, why the money's being held up, and why it took 3.5 months for them to respond to questions about getting paid.
On that note, can I ask you a few questions?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about some of the work that you did. Tell us more about the work that you did.
So in the telecommunications work, we install the lines from pole to pole. Very similar to how the power company does that. We install fiber optics as well as hard line cable plant. We primarily did assessment work. So we were the individuals that rode around with the system maps from Charter and indicated where the damages sections of their plant was. We provided that information back to Charter in a timely manner at Charter's request.
And did you accomplish the work that you were hired to do?
Yes, sir. During our departure from the market, we still had work in our hands. We had to ask repeatedly whether or not they wanted us to complete the work. I think 3 or 4 times we had to ask before we finally got a response in the affirmative. We completed the work and returned the final product to them within the time frame that we had set forth.
And do you do that same work for anybody
Yes,
else, and have they paid you?
Yes, sir. We worked for Ida Restoration for 4 other vendors, 4 other companies. All of them have paid in full, except for Charter, and we still don't know why.
And what are the impacts for not being paid?
It's a substantial financial impact for us. It's financial planning. It affects our CapEx abilities for next year. As I'm sure all the chairmen know, we are in the, RDOF funding is coming out. There's a substantial growth and need within our sector for labor personnel and things like that. Bucket trucks and equipment are very expensive, and that funding would have gone a long way in allowing us to continue to grow our operation, employ Louisiana residents, and build a better communication amongst the citizenry of Louisiana.
Commissioner Campbell?
How much money these people owe you?
They owe us $913,637.
Do they owe other people?
They owe, yes, they owe other people. We're the smallest one. The largest, I believe, is somewhere in the realm of 19 million.
Have you, Mr. Haney's not a lawyer, but do you have a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Have you told him you don't have a remedy to sue him and go to court?
We do not want to go to court.
Why not?
Well, we would like to find an amicable solution to get this resolved. Again, we've done this work for 30 years. We've never had a situation like this that has been unable to be resolved amicably. These people refuse to talk to us. I don't know what else to do. They leave us with no other option.
Well, you're going to court. You didn't want to go to court, but you're in court.
I know. I don't want to be here, and I don't want to have to go litigate this.
Yeah, well, you went to the ultimate court. You went around the judge. You came to us. I'm just wondering if it was I'm listening to you.
Yes, sir.
And if somebody owed me $913,000, that's a lot of money. 90,000 is a lot of money, but that's a whole lot.
The problem
of money.
is that they're continuing to hide behind their keyboards, and I can't give them something else to hide behind. I would like to have answers.
Do they talk to you?
Very rarely.
When you call and ask for your money, what do they tell you?
No.
No?
No.
When you show them what you've done and you present them a bill, an itemized bill, they just deny it and say, we're not going to pay you?
We asked for a good faith payment, and we were told no.
Who tells you no? I mean,
The charter representatives that we have direct contact with.
who are they?
A gentleman by the name of Mike Sellers.
Is he here today?
I do not believe so.
Well, he's got, Mr. Rieger, you represent those people?
Yes, sir.
You're going to get paid well today. If this is true.
I have some statements here from other vendors that I was sent. I believe I'm not sure if they have these or not.
I do believe we sent them to Commissioner Green's staff, but we have some copies here. I'm glad
This
to
is
bring
from one
up
of the
for
other vendors that
Green's
is unable to
staff.
be here today, as well as the subcontractors that he employed, that we also employed. And that's the gist of this, is that it's a small community of contractors. We refer to ourselves as friendly competitors. We all bid on the same work. We all do the same activity in different areas, and we try to help each other out as best as we can. Look, when there's a damage that's 15 minutes away from my office that is affecting 911's ability to operate successfully, I don't expect a contractor that's on the other side of the state 4 or 5 hours away to drive all the way over there to repair that. They can call me, and we can run out there and we can make that repair in a much timely manner to get those services restored. I mean, if you needed to call 911 and were unable to because your provider had a fiber network that was down, you would be pretty upset.
Mr. Haney, how many people do you represent? Is this your only client?
Yes, sir. And of course, Infinity wanted to be here today. They did send this letter. They also have with their packet here, about 10 of their vendors wrote letters, because obviously, you got a prime here and they have subs they retain to get a lot of the work done. Well, it all flows down. We've been able to pay our subs. We're right now floating their payments, so we're here kind of representing those guys as well. But for Infinity, they haven't been able to do that as much, and so we have letters from these mom and pop operators, small businesses across the state, some are minority and woman-owned, who are basically saying, we're done doing work for Charter in Louisiana. If we can't get paid, we can't continue to choose to take business in Louisiana if there's not going to be if there's going to be this gap in payment. They'd rather go somewhere else.
I'm very familiar with your dad. He's more my age. I know who you are, but I know your dad well. I remember when he worked in the Senate for Sonny Mouton.
Yes, sir.
But y'all do this kind of work, debt collections?
Not typically, but we do. Any small business that needs some help, we're willing to be their voice.
I know you lobby in the legislature. I didn't know that you. So he's your client, and you're trying to help your client. That's why you're here.
Yes, sir. Just trying to bring some awareness to the situation.
Okay. And they owe other people besides you?
Yes, sir.
How many people you think they owe?
5. There were 5 primes that responded, and to my knowledge, at the best of my ability.
About how much? They owe you 900, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
What do they owe the other 4?
I know that they owe Infinite $19 million. I believe they owe 2 other vendors in the vicinity of $2 million each, and I'm not sure about the other one.
So they owe $4 or $5 million then, huh? More?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And they didn't want to show up today? I mean,
Look, we have asked for meetings as far back as September. We've asked to have meetings with them again and again. We've been told that we'll schedule a meeting next week, months at a time. And it continues to just weeks pass, and we do not get any information out of them. Since September 15th, when our invoice was originally submitted to them, we've received 1 phone call, and it was in an effort to tell us that they needed more information about our invoicing, which we happily provided again to them. And we continue to get tidbits of emails where they ask for information that has already been submitted.
Brandon, let me ask you something. What exactly, what is the position, I mean, what can we do to this company?
So, Commissioner,
What is exact, can we tell them they can't do business in Louisiana, they pay these debts? Do we have that kind of outreach?
not exactly, but there is a concern that's coming to me, and it kind of goes to your point. We had a meeting with these gentlemen, as well as one of the other, Infinity they referred to, and some representatives of Charter last week, and the business they do, and not only restoration work, but also deploying fiber and those types of things they do in non-storm situations. And I asked them about this, and Vineeth was here earlier and talked about deploying infrastructure for broadband. Charter received ETC designation for us for RDOF money, and these subcontractors told me that they had RDOF contracts and they may not do them for Charter anymore because they're afraid they won't get paid. Well, Charter may not be able to fill its obligations as an ETC if they're not going to get anybody that's actually going to do the work for them. So in that respect, yes, there would be something that we could potentially revoke if it looks like they're not going to be able to do what they need to do.
Commissioner Scametta?
What do you say?
Yeah, you might remember, and this is the other commissioners, that when we were going through the RDOF certification votes, that our primary concern was, were the companies going to absorb the money and not put it to work? And were they going, and this is an example of not putting it to work. If you're not going to spend the money on your contractors, if you're going to put people to work and you're not going to pay them, what's going on with the money? So the question becomes, and I guess this is a question for you, Rob, does the commission have to take sort of a bold action of revoking the RDOF certification for Charter, which to my recollection was the biggest RDOF award in the state, if I'm not mistaken. And how much was it, the 30-something million dollars was the Charter got? Do you remember how much it was?
Off the top of my head, Rob Rieger for Charter Communications.
Yeah,
Yeah,
come on up
Rob,
and
come on up.
take Ryan's seat.
I can estimate that if Mr. Rieger's.
No, go ahead, Rob.
Good morning, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, members. My name's Rob Rieger. I practice law at Adams and Reese, and I represent Charter Communications. To answer your question, Commissioner Scametta, I don't remember how much it was.
I think it was
off
like
the top of my
30 or
head.
39 million, but y'all were the big winner, I think.
We were one of multiple
the big.
winners.
It was either you or SpaceX. I think it was.
SpaceX, I think, was the biggest.
Yeah,
there may have
but
been
y'all were
Connex
right
comment
there.
another one.
And my concerns are twofold. Number one is, if you get the money and you put people to work, it begins to look pretty bad if you're not handling your subs, right?
I agree.
And not bad in a little way, bad in a big way, to the point where the commission has to start considering decertification, okay? And if we decertify, that's going to open up a whole different can of worms across the spectrum of federal jurisdiction, that the feds are going to come in, the FCC is going to come in, everybody's going to be looking for a bite out of the apple on someone, and it ain't going to be these guys, okay? So my problem is, I'm not a debt collector, but what I am is a person who is looking at how the system works, okay? And look, I know we have limited jurisdiction over this entire process, but what I do know is the big thing we said, and our concerns were, is that when we certified all of this RDOF money, is that we were concerned that it was going to be put to work for the benefit of the ratepayers and the benefit of the citizens of the state. And if these guys went forward in good faith, relied on your company to go ahead and do the work so that the ratepayers could benefit from it, and if you activated any of this and put it to work, you're in a bad situation. And I don't know what to tell you other than jurisdictionally, you know, I'm looking at the staff to agree with everybody else up here on what's the harshest thing we can do to, you know, put the rudder straight on this ship and get the economics into play to make sure that these subs who are at the mercy of a larger company don't get mistreated into, you know, the fantasy or the fairy tale of driving them into bankruptcy so you can just buy the assets for nothing. You know, because we've seen that kind of thing happen with other companies. It doesn't bode well across the commission to see that kind of activity to take advantage of a lesser company. So
Sure.
we don't want to see that.
No.
But what we want to see is if you got federal money, this isn't state money, this isn't private banking money, this isn't ratepayer money. You got federal money for an intended purpose and didn't spend it. That's a whole different alphabet city that wants to look at this. So I think you're in a position to where you might want to make good on what you said you intended to do with federal money before we have to step in and do something drastic
Let me,
to
sure.
correct that. Because
Sure.
what we would do is nothing compared to what the federal alphabet would do.
So if I could, to
Okay,
go
no,
ahead and
I'm done, thanks.
No problem. Let me give you some comfort. There's not a single RDOF dollar that has been deployed in this instance. Those awards have been made, but the grants or actually the fundings of those have not taken care. And you have our assurance and Charter's assurance they will be great stewards of that money. That's what they're obligated to do, and that's what they will do. On this whole matter, I'm sorry that this contractor and others may have had issues. Charter pays its debts. Charter is good for the money. No, Commissioner, let me finish.
But you have-
Before I cut off.
Yeah, but you
We
have-
shall be. We shall be. But we're going to be good stewards of the money, just like we're good stewards with our shareholders' money and the things that we have to do for the folks who invest with us. We're going to rigorously scrutinize the invoices and make sure the work was done. The work was done right. It was done with direction. Okay, all of those things. Those are all standard business practices that you expect any responsible entity to employ, and we intend to do it.
One word,
Yes, sir.
when?
We are working on that. I cannot give you a time period. I wish I could. I wish I could stand here and say it would be, all this would be resolved shortly. I don't know that. I can tell you that since our firm has been involved, you know, we have worked with the company to try and do things we could to try and streamline communications. I had a lengthy conversation with Mr. Carbo yesterday and got some facts from him that I was not personally aware of that I are bringing to my client's attention.
Well,
So, and we are happy to go through this, and you have our commitment to work
Right.
to get a resolution.
I think you'll see this on the January agenda for a review, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, we hope that it's rectified by then, because if it's not, it's going to be a whole different discussion. And that's just my way of looking at it. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I have a question. So
Yes,
the
sir.
services like fiber and internet and that Hurricane Ida impacted, are they back on today?
For the most part, I think just about everything is back on, except with perhaps a pocket here and there. And pocket, I mean like individual issues.
So
It
in
drops
order
the
to-
houses. The main line, I think, is yes, sir, completely back
In order to
on.
get that back on, did Charter utilize contractors like Nathan's company?
We did utilize. They did assessment services, as Mr. Carbo described.
So you asked them to do it, they did it, and it's back on. You just haven't paid them for it.
There is some question about what they have done and how much work that they'll do.
Has
They
Charter
do.
paid any of the contractors that they used to
They
get?
have. I'm not familiar with every situation, Commissioner Green. I can tell you with regard to Infinity, they paid a big chunk of money north of $30 million, if I remember, for work that they've done there. They owe that particular company about $19.1 million. They have made substantial good faith payments in that instance. Mr. Carbo represented to you all, and I talked. He'd like to see a good faith payment out of Charter. Charter is working on that to see if that's something that is appropriate. And there will be communications with Mr. Carbo to go through it all.
Well, will you please let Charter know it's very, very important to us that they dial into this?
I'm very sorry it had to come to the commission's attention. I regret that the principals involved with the company, who all know who we represent, all the cable folks, would have loved to have them come directly and keep this away from you. The fact that they brought it here, I'm very sorry. And we will redouble our efforts to come up with a reasonable conclusion, and quickly.
Anybody else? Okay. Commissioner Campbell?
Mr. Rieger, is it, your company is not insolvent, is that correct?
Correct.
Are they in good financial standings?
As far as I know.
Have we, or Brandon, you can answer this, have we ever had something like this before the Public Service Commission, where we come and maybe with some of those bad systems in South Louisiana, when they came and we settle financial disputes here before the commission? Did we do that? Probably we did when we sold all those companies.
Not directly. I know we've had telecom disputes in the past that came to us, and it was more of under a specific subset of our telecom rules that we had that, which would have been a similar type scenario, but not directly like this.
I'm just wondering, have y'all thought about going to court?
That's next.
Huh?
That's our next step. If we can't get a resolution,
You can't go?
we can, and I mean, that is our intent if we have to go down that path, but we would prefer not to. We're trying to
Well,
exhaust
let
all
me
amicable options.
Listen,
before-
I understand they owe you a lot of money. I'm on your side. I want them to pay for it. But are you asking us to make a decision that, well, that's what you look like today? You sicking the dogs on your company, which is fine. I'd sick them on them too. I'd use bulldogs, okay? I know what that means. But what you're doing, you got Mr. Rieger up here representing his company the best he can. You want your $900,000, which I don't blame you, but you'd rather come here than go to court because you think this is a faster remedy. But our remedy here is telling this company we're going to jerk their license. Is that right?
That would not be directly related to it, but it could be a potential fallout. If subcontractors are unwilling to do work and they can't actually do the work, then
Well,
that's
let
it.
me ask you something. Another question. If you could, or if you took these people's license, you think that'd help you get your money any faster?
No, I do not.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, what good does it do to kill the goose that laid the golden egg? I mean, you want your money. I don't know this. Mr. Rieger, maybe, since you speak for the people who owe the money, okay?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way in the world y'all can't get y'all's head together and get these people paid? What's the problem?
Commissioner Campbell, that's what we're attempting to do.
Do what?
That is exactly what we are attempting to do.
How long will it be before they get their money?
I could not tell you.
Well, that's not a good answer.
I understand it's not a satisfactory answer
Somebody
to you,
owed me
but I
that.
just cannot tell you.
He's a small business guy here. Somebody owed me $900,000. I don't know when I can pay you. That's not a good answer. This fellow needs some money, and you got 3 or 4 other people involved. I doubt his company can take a $900,000 hit. And you tell him, I don't know when we can pay you. Is your company in good shape? You says it is.
So far as I know, yes, sir.
Well, you ought to know that. You're the lawyer. That's the first thing you ought to know if they can pay you. And then the next thing you ought to do is go back and tell these people, we got to get this over with. Or you're going to come back to the Public Service Commission. Is there a chance, Brandon, that you could take these people's license?
There's always, we'd have to open an investigation.
I'd make a
and see,
suggestion.
but, yeah.
I'd make a suggestion, Mr. Green, and I'm not trying to take over this.
We're in Natchitoches. You go ahead.
I would tell you, bring it back up next month.
Yep.
You go have some prayer meeting with your boys, Mr. Rieger, and see if they need to pay these people. They can't just keep putting this off. And tell them, If they come back next month, there's some serious things that this commission could do. I'm not threatening anybody, but I understand this man here, when you owe him $900,000, you got any more accounts receivables that much?
No, sir. We also have some other outstanding invoices that have not been paid, but we've been able to reconcile most of those at the local level.
Well,
this is the one outstanding invoice that we have.
If we have the authority to do something, we ought to do something. These people ought to pay the bills. And you got 3 or 4 other creditors involved,
Yes, sir.
up to $4 million, you said, something like that?
One of them's 19.
North of 20.
Huh?
Altogether, it's north of $20 million.
North of 20?
Yes, sir.
Boy, you really need to talk to your client and ask him, can he swallow $20 million? That's a lot of money. These people. So I would ask if you put this off to next month, y'all have a prayer meeting and come back with an answer.
Commissioners, and I said it once, I'll say it again, Charter pays its bills. They will work through this. They will do the things they need to do to make sure the charges are appropriate. They will do it in a business-like fashion, and they will make recompense to any contractor that it's owed. And
That's
if there's
good.
additional dispute, they
Can
have
you,
additional remedies for that.
Why don't you bring the guy with Charter with you next time?
We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Get him here too, because this is serious business, and you know, we usually don't handle stuff like this. We're in the middle of we deal with companies that pay their bills, and you know, you run up $20 million, that's serious money, break some people, and then you stop the work that we're all so happy to try to do. We shouldn't be dealing with this. And
I apologize for your having to
won't-
do that.
If your company don't pay, they might not ought to be doing business in Louisiana. That's the way I feel. But anyway, I'd make a motion that you put this off 1 month, come back, and y'all get together and see what we can, if we can't
Yes, sir.
get us a road to go down that we can all agree on.
I'll second that motion. Commissioner Francis?
Mr. Carbo,
Yes, sir.
I've been in business before. I've had $1 million debt that I either had to write off or give my lawyer and sue somebody. The PSC, this is not really the forum for disgruntled creditors getting paid. We're trying to help you, but if we helped all the creditors out there, we'd be having a meeting once a week instead of once a month. So, but we are concerned about charter. But my experience in business, either write it off or get your lawyer and sue these guys. Okay, that's my advice to you today. Thank you.
Anyone else?
See you in January.
See you in January, yep.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Commissioner.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to put these letters from the contractors in the record.
Thank you.
Thank
Brian,
you all.
just bring them to me. I'll make sure.
Catherine?
Okay, so we're moving back to exhibit number 2, which is 2022 proposed business and executive session schedule. It's a discussion and possible vote to accept the proposed